Big stop the bleeding bucket.
Oh, Giannis sending it back. Gary Trent Jr. to Giannis to finish it off. The start and end.
What's up, guys? It's Nathan, and ladies and gentlemen, I think I have broken the builder. Yes, I have created Giannis on steroids, pretty much. This build can literally do everything, unless you really like posting up, but it can still do that a little bit. So let's get right into it. We're gonna go with a center. Now you could also make this a power forward, and at power forward you actually do get the Giannis shades, but there's a reason I would rather go center, and I'll explain that later on. We're gonna keep this actually at 6'11", put the weight down to 239, and then wingspan will be down to 7'1". Now I've been experimenting with the cap breakers a lot the last few days, and man, it is a frustrating system. What everyone has said mostly is true. Sometimes when you change one attribute, the cap breaker potential for other attributes does change. So it's important that you follow this build extremely specifically. If you want to change it, it's going to be a nightmare relearning what cap breakers you need, what attributes you need to get certain cap breakers, attributes, things of that nature. It's a mess. So super important to start with the build I give you exactly. All right, now let's get into it. First, we're going to go with finishing. Close shot, we're going to put up to 84, and that will be enough for Silver Paint Prodigy. Now, this isn't like a paint mashing build, but it's going to be able to finish okay down low. Close shot is not going to be the main way you score at the rim, but this will be effective at least. Driving layup, we're actually going to go not to 75 for the layup mixmaster. We're actually going to go to 76, and this unlocks the Bam Adebayo layup package. And guys, this floater is really good this year. On wings and on bigs, if you can't get up to the mid 80s at least, this is a good spot to stay at. If you can't even get up to 80, this is a good spot to stay at. And you could throw cap breakers in here later, but again, we'll get to the cap breakers here toward the end of the video. Driving dunk, now you're gonna be able to jam it on people occasionally, but really this is kind of budget. We're gonna put this all the way up to 80. Get Aerial Wizard Gold here, and there are actually a lot of driving dunk animations that unlock right at 80 that are very solid. Quick drops off 1 is one at 80. Cradle dunks off 1 is another one I really like, but there are a lot to pick from there. Can't go wrong with 80. Eventually you will get the posterizer on bronze as well. Standing dunk. Now I did experiment trying this at 90 standing dunk. Would be really good. The issue I eventually came to is this isn't really a post mashing build. This isn't really a down low drop step your guy build. Obviously, if you're on a smaller player, you can still do that. So I decided to go down to 81, which will eventually give you rise up on silver. And honestly, you get a lot of decent packages here. You know, this finishing, it's not like out of this world or anything, but it's definitely solid, can do the job. Post control, I'm gonna put up to a 65, and you see hook specialist is already on silver. Most of these other post badges you will have on bronze at least, so that if you are matched up against a short king, you can finish on them really easily. Now let's head over to the shooting. Now this is something I'm going to touch on later on with cap breakers, but you're going to want your mid-range at 89, and that will get you set shot specialist at gold, as well as Deadeye and Shifty Shooter, both at silver. Post fade phenom also ends up at bronze. Now it's season 1 of 2K26. They could change shooting later on, but as of right now, this is a pretty easy game to shoot on. So 89 midi is well over enough to be able to hit shots. Now this is where it gets very particular. 3-point I put up to 54. If you go up one more with this kind of build, cap breakers just do not work. They do not work in your favor. So 54 exactly is where we want this. Free throw, we're going to end up at a 78, which if you know your free throw routine, you should be able to hit this majority of the time. I've got another build at 81 free throw. I believe I've only missed 2 free throws online this year. It's green or miss, but if you know your routine, you got it. Now let's go over to the playmaking. Pass accuracy, we're going to put all the way at 93. This is a very premium spot for pass accuracy, but I really wanted break starter on Hall of Fame. You also get Dimer on Hall of Fame, Versatile Visionary on gold, bailing on silver, but you're a center. I don't know how much you're going to be bailing out, but if you're driving to the rim, which eventually you will be doing with this kind of build, it's a good option. Ball handle and speed with ball. These are also some very particular attributes you want to keep an eye on where they end up because of where the cap breakers end up. Ball handle, we're going to go up to 65, and speed with ball is going to be a 45. Now you're looking at these and you're thinking, this doesn't get me anything. What is going on? Well, that's why we got the cap breakers. Cap breakers are going to break this build. Just trust the process. This ain't a Joel Embiid build, but trust the process. Defense is very important for a center, of course. So I decided to put the interior defense at 88. Eventually you'll have post lockdown at gold at that range. Block we put up at 84. As you can see with the badges, you get paint patroller on silver, high flying denier. It's gonna say bronze for now, but it's eventually gonna go up to, I believe it's silver. Now if we look over at the takeovers real quick, you do unlock rim guardian with the 80 interior and 80 block. That is definitely an option you could go with. Takeovers, you have a lot of options basically, so we'll get to that later. Perimeter defense and steel are also very specific that don't exactly unlock anything at the moment, but you want them for cap breakers. Perimeter defense, we went 66. Steel, we're gonna go 53. With both of these, if you put just one cap breaker on, so one on perimeter defense and one on steel, you're gonna eventually get up to 72 perimeter defense, which unlocks challenger and movable enforcer. And steel will go up to 60, which unlocks interceptor and is a very good threshold this year. Rebounding, we are just going to go straight for the 92 for defensive rebound. Offensive rebound, we're going to go 80, so we have the crasher takeover. It's not showing up yet because we haven't gotten to strength yet, but again, that's another option for takeover. Physicals is where it gets a little silly. We're actually going to max out the agility at 65, and we're going to put the speed at 56. Cap breakers are eventually going to go into speed, but this is mostly why you want this as a center, unless you already have the cap breakers, because you are going to be slow as molasses trying to keep up with other power forwards or people playing the power forward position, perhaps from small forward. Strength, we're going to go up to 84. 83 gets brick wall silver, and 84 gets post lockdown on gold. And then finally, vertical is going to go all the way up to an 83. This gets pogo stick on Hall of Fame. And frankly, at 6'11", you're going to be hopping around like a rabbit. All right, let's get into the shades. At center, you're going to get Isaiah Hartenstein, David Robinson, and Mel Daniels. You're going to get the archetype of a two-way mid-paint break starter. Very long archetype name. As you see on the right side here, your strengths, read defenses like a chess master, strong pursuit of defensive rebounds, great mid-range game, paint defense is very dependable. Weaknesses, floor shrinks when he's outside, struggles with footwork in the paint. Well, with cap breakers, we're actually going to eliminate one of those weaknesses, that being the spacing. And with post control, honestly, I have not seen very much post scoring this year, or at least pure post scores at the center position, but you can still make some things work. And real quickly, I'll show you. If you make this at power forward, you get the shades of Giannis, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett. And your archetype name is a backline midi break starter. Strengths and weaknesses are very similar to the center. They're just worded a little differently. So if you want the Giannis shades on your Giannis build, here you go. And this is the cap breaker screen for that build. Now, in order to really maximize the build, I'd recommend 15 cap breakers. But to get it really comfortable and get started, I'd recommend about 7 to 8 cap breakers. And here's where you put them. Now, some things are more important to start with than others, depending on your playstyle. I'll just go through them as they appear on this list. 3-point shot is probably the most obvious one. 54, you're not hitting nothing. But one cap breaker, you see it adds 9, so you go up to 63. Next one adds 7, so you're up to 70. Next one adds 6, so you're up to 76. And frankly, with the badges you get from the mid-range, you could stop here if you wanted to, but we'll keep going. Another +6 gets you up to 82. And the crazy one, you add 5, you get up to 87, which will unlock limitless range bronze for your 6'11". And of course, you could max +2 that all the way up to gold if you really wanted to, which just sounds insane to me, frankly. Going down the list here, next up, we'll stop at ball handle. You see it starts at 65. One cap breaker adds +5 up to 70. And then the second cap breaker here adds another 4, goes up to 74. At 73, you get strong handle gold along with your strength. And then you'll also unlock Kevin Durant ball handle moves. And in general, you just have more options. Speed with ball is the next one. You're going to add one cap breaker here, +10, all the way up to a 55 speed with ball. and this unlocks the Giannis dribble style. And honestly, this is probably the best dribble style for bigs this year, but you do get a few other options at 55 as well, so you're free to look through those if you'd like. Next up, we're going to go to perimeter defense. Very specifically, we put it at 66 so that this cap breaker adds 6 and gets up to 72. Now 72, you will get, I believe it's challenger on bronze and immovable enforcer on silver along with your strength. And this is probably, until they throw a patch in the game, probably the best attribute height combo to have a chance at defending these 7'4" stretch bigs. You may have to jump at them, but you will get contests doing this, as long as you're playing defense correctly. Next up, we're going down to steel, which we put specifically at 53, so that one cap breaker adds +7 and puts up to 60 for bronze interceptor. And then the last important one is speed. Now, you're a center, you may not need all the speed in the world, so throw as many on this as you would like. +4 puts up to 60, another +4, 64, then you got 67, 70, and then 73 speed on your 6'11 center, along with 65 agility. You're going to keep up with almost every big, power forwards or centers. This is a somewhat switchable build with that perimeter defense in mind. Now, you can't go guard the point guard every possession, but you're not a net negative in the pick and roll. If you got smart teammates, you can switch. So if you're doing the math at home, that's 5 in the 3-point shooting, 2 in ball handle, 1 in speed with ball, 1 in perimeter defense, 1 in steal, and 5 in speed. If you do all of these, you will only need 15 cap breakers out of a potential 28 that are offered this year. And frankly, this is about the amount of cap breakers I would recommend on like builds that I'm making, because frankly, almost nobody is going to get all 28. It's just way too difficult. But 15 is probably doable. Getting one every season, and there's 9 seasons. Getting the cap breakers from seasons, city challenges, and rep rewards, as well as the 2 you get from your build specialization, you should end up with at least 15, as long as you're playing the game a good amount. Now, other options you could use after you've done these, you could go put 3 cap breakers into layup and get it up to an 80 driving layup. This unlocks the next level of physical finisher. You can do 2 in close shot to get the float game badge up another level. You could do 4 in standing dunk to get to 85, which unlocks a lot of good animations. And of course, there's a few others. You could just shore up things that maybe you want a little higher. Maybe you want the block up to 88. I mean, that's possible. Maybe you want the offensive rebound up to 85 or just higher than 80 so you have more of a chance to get those. Totally fine. Those aren't necessarily the ones I would recommend first, but there are definitely options for this build. And really quickly, I'm going to show you what happens if you put 3-point shot at 55. I just dropped free throw by 1. Everything else is the same. And I believe we're going to end up with the same shades and everything. They're slightly, same archetype name. So this is what happens when you put 3-point shot at 55 on the 6'11" build. Your 3-point cap breakers only go up by 1 now. And also changes how these other cap breaker attribute bonuses work. Steal goes up still to 60. Perimeter defense now only goes up to 71. Speed goes up to 56. Ball handle is completely different. So yes, it does changes a lot. I believe speed also changed a little bit as well. So in summation, cap breakers are so frustrating this year. There's no easy way to check. You have to make your build, start your My Career, go over to the attributes tab, go into cap breakers once you've actually unlocked a cap breaker, and then you have to keep checking this to see what lines up well. And frankly, it's kind of ridiculous. I hope they change this somehow. I don't know if they will this year, but I hope they change it. Real quickly, I'm going to show you the animations I put on here. Now, the jumper, of course, is personal preference, but the one I have on right now is Michael Porter Jr. base, Mike Muscala upper release 1, and Beluba upper release 2. Go 66 in favor of Beluba. Slow with speed actually, and put it right at push. And it's a very well-rounded jumper. I don't know if it's the best, but it's the one I'm going to use today. As we go through, you can see what we got. Dunk style we'll go over to real quick. I have put on clutch baseline reverses off 2, quick drops off 1, cradle dunks off 1. I put, you can pick whatever rim pulls and standing dunks you want. These are the ones I've put on. You can see them if you would like. For signature dunks, I put on Giannis and Amari Stoudemire. Alley-oops, I just put on as many as I could, and I have flashy cities out on. And real quickly, I will scroll through the rest of this list so you can see what I have selected here. So yeah, guys, that is going to do it for this build here. All in all, if you get the cap breakers you need, this build can be a demon. And I don't say that in the clickbait YouTuber way. I mean, like, it can for real do basically everything at a pretty good level. Fades, you got it. I will show you. You can get a little glitchy with the post go-to shots as well. And one last thing about the cap breakers. Now, if I was making this for myself to start being comfortable, I would start with about 8 cap breakers. I would put 3 on 3-point shot to get it up to 76 3-pointer. I'd put 2 on ball handle to get it up to 74. 1 on speed with ball to get it to 55. 1 on perimeter defense to get it up to 72. And 1 on steal to get it up to 60. That makes a fairly elite center that has almost no weaknesses aside from no post game. That is kind of the order in which I would do it. Now I've already gotten most of my shooter build specialization done, so I would probably pick that one. But you know, you could also pick defense or rebounding if those are more comfortable for you. Even playmaking, actually, because you do have 3 cap breakers to put on for playmaking. Essentially what I'm saying is you kind of can't go wrong with that. It just more so depends on the other perks you get, not directly tied to the cap breakers you get from your build specialization. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. I appreciate y'all for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.